Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. It's Jonathan Howe, joined by my co host Travis Cunningham. Big week of racing, big week for you on the racetrack, Travis, and a big guest this week as well.
Yeah, we have Cody McPherson coming up. We just recorded his interview just before this, and yeah, I'm going to be making my debut on Monday for this season at Merrittville with the Southern Ontario Sprints. Us weekend had to cancel this week, which was unfortunate, but hopefully they'll be ready for next week, and then we can get back going there. But for now, we're just going to open up at Merrittville. I missed the race earlier in the year, which kind of sucked. I just wasn't quite ready. But yeah, this Monday I'll be ready to rock.
And how are you feeling going into your first race and getting back behind the wheel? Is there nerves? Is there excitement? What are you feeling?
The driver's ready to go. The engine builder just put a new motor together, so there's always a little bit of jitters there. And I haven't got any practice or dyno time on it, so I'm going to have to ease into it in hot laps a little bit and then hammer down in the heat. So that's probably the main thing. Driver's like ready to go. He's pissed off that he missed the first race. So internal battles ever since. But yeah, just hope the motor is good to go, and the car's been really good. And I've been getting a little bit better as a driver, so hopefully we can run up front.
Yeah, and hopefully, who knows? Maybe we're going to be catching up in victory lane, or at least
Oh,
we're
that'd
still
be
interviewing the
epic. That'd
top
be for
three on the
sure.
front stretch, right? So even then, you got three places you
For
could
them,
see
yeah.
me at.
Last year I finished third at Humberstone. That was like the only night they didn't have the top three. I was like, whatever. Probably
Of
good they
course,
didn't
right?
shove the microphone in my mouth anyway. Yeah, but oh well.
I was gonna say at Humberstone, who would have been shoving the microphone in your face if you're behind the wheel?
Oh, that night it was G-Force, so it would have been either Clint or Adam probably. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to a doubleheader weekend at Merrittville this weekend.
me too.
But going back to the Too Cool Automotive Night that we just had on the 14th. Mr. Second Place, that nickname is gone because Ryan
Mm-hmm.
Susie broke through for a win in an epic duel with Matt Williamson.
Yep. Susi swept the weekend. He won Friday at Ransomville as well. So he had bad luck at Ransomville the week before. He raced that, showed he can win. Picked up Friday and won Saturday as well. I'm not sure if he's ever swept the weekend before. I'm sure he's done it in the Sportsman, but I'm not sure he's ever done it in the 358. If so, sorry if you have. But yeah, weekend sweep for Susie.
And that was a really, really intense battle. If you weren't there that night with us, be sure to go back and watch it on GeForce. And I'm actually, we'll see what I can do, but I'm going to put a request in from Spencer maybe to grab at least there was about a 5 lap stretch, I'm going to say, between Susie and Williamson where they were constantly trading it right back and forth between each other. And it was maybe some of the best racing that I've ever had the privilege to call. So I thought it was awesome. That was what a perfect race to represent Brian Stevens as well, right?
Totally, Brian Stevens Memorial. That was a huge night. Matt picked up $444 earlier in the pole dash, and I just couldn't quite hold Ryan off, and they banged bars a little bit, caused a little bit of drama. They definitely had me standing up in the stands, cheering them on. Ryan said sorry a little bit in victory lane, and I know Matt was a little mad in the pits, but to me, it almost like a new style Brian Stevens versus Pete Bicknell battle. And they were at it, and those two are definitely going to be racing against each other a lot this year. And they're our first two guests, or no, second and third guest. Pete was our first, but yeah, it's going to be fun to watch them battle all year because they're definitely both super fast.
And I'm glad you mentioned the pole dash challenge as well because that is, I think that's the second or third time I've had a chance to watch the pole dash because I believe maybe one of the events that we were supposed to have a pole dash either got rained out or we missed it because of COVID or something. But
Mm-hmm.
I love that format. I love that shootout style format. I get it probably is a little bit gimmicky for some people, especially in the dirt community, some of the older school people. But for me, I thought that was fantastic. And I wanted to ask you if there was a track or maybe there was throughout Ontario between Ashwika and Merrittville and Humberstone in particular, since those are the three that we focus on. If each track did that once or twice per season, would that be too much, or do you think that's perfect?
At the Nationals, us weekend used to do. It wasn't for the pole, but it was for like $1,000, a kind of drag race style kind of thing like that, and that was always kind of fun. But that kind of thing, the only problem with it, like it is fun to do, like sometimes it can be line dominant, and the guy who starts either inside or outside is always going to get it. I wasn't paying quite enough attention to see what happened on Saturday, but I know Matt won it, and I know there was a start controversy. I think someone jumped, and got, which kind of
I
sucked.
think it was Brad Rouse. I think there were two jumps.
Rouse,
Rouse
yeah,
jumped and he got a warning and then was DQ'd in his battle against Freddie Carlton. And then Matt, I believe, also
yep.
received a warning in the finals. But we were all kind of screaming and yelling inside the booth because of the strategy that some of the drivers were taking and how they were lining it up. You know, like a guy like Matt Williamson or Ryan Susie, we've seen the speed they have all season long so far. Why would you want to leave them till the very last to try to knock them out of a pole challenge? You want them starting towards the back. If I think Scott Wood had a first pick. I mean, I would have probably taken on at least maybe taken on Susie or maybe Williamson right out of the gate just to at least try. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, at least make them keep going or something. Yeah, I hear what you mean. Yeah, I definitely like once a year is good for one of those kind of things, but I don't know how the drivers feel about it, but they're definitely fun to watch for the fans. There's no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Looking elsewhere in the sportsman division, well, I guess let's round out the top five. I mean, so Susie Williamson, Gary Lindbergh brought it home third. Chad Chevalier, another consistent run inside the top five, and Mr. Smallblock bringing it home, rounding out the top five in fifth place in the Brian Stevens Memorial Core Pack Merchandising 358 Modifieds. And then in the sportsman, Daryl Fairway. I don't want to say a surprise win, but I think a lot of people were pretty happy, at least that were familiar with Daryl and the Fairway name around Maryville. Happy to see that 53 car in victory lane.
Definitely. I was pulling for him. Even James Michael Friesen was all over him, opening night winner. It would have been cool to see James win as well, but yeah, definitely that was Fairway's first win at Merrittville. And I wonder if you learned something. I know Cody McPherson drove his car a couple, and Cody referred to that in his interview coming up in a few minutes here. But yeah, it was definitely cool to see Fairway take the win. I used to watch that family race back in the day at Flamborough on the pavement in the hobby cars. That's how old I am. In 19, like, that was like 1995 ish, and I can still remember it. I think it was a yellow car, but yeah, same as it is now. Or no, it's blue and yellow, mainly blue. Back then it was mainly yellow. But anyway, yeah, they've been around forever, and I'm pretty sure they won one at Humberstone before this one. I'm not sure, but this was definitely their first win at Merrittville, and it was awesome to see them pick up the win.
Yeah, that was a really good moment. Again, I think it was the first week that I was back at the track. Daryl was able to capture a heat win, so that 53 cars had pace.
Definitely fast this year,
There's
no
a
doubt.
couple other times yeah, there was a couple times I thought maybe he was going to be a contender, and then maybe either had like a mechanical failure or just got caught up in something. But really happy to see Daryl break through. And then you mentioned JMF brought it home second. Adam Leslie and Justin Sharp, another two guys who have been really, really consistent and knocking on the door to
Yep.
start 2022. And Jay Mallory rounded out the top five there. And our guest, Cody McPherson, just shy of a top five after starting 12th in the heat. He drove up to sixth.
Yeah. Yeah, you said Sharpie and who's the other guy you said that's running fast? Because I know Sharpie's close on
Oh,
the win.
Leslie.
Yeah, and Leslie, of course. Yeah, Adam Leslie as well. One of
I've
those
been
two,
really impressed.
I think, are going to be the next new winners on the season, if you ask me. I could be wrong. A lot of other cars could win as well, but those two have definitely been showing the speed that's not too far away.
Well, I mean, even Leslie, I'm looking at it here, gained 7 spots in the feature. He started 10th on the grid, wound up third. You know,
Yep.
what if he started seventh, right? Like
Yep.
you kind of wonder if maybe the victim of a draw there, victim of I think the handicapping went into effect this week at Merrittville. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah. So
Yeah, it did.
you never know, right? So I agree. I think Sharp and Leslie are the two to circle as next winners. I think in the sportsman division, and then in the Hoosier stocks, Mark Fawcett breaking through,
Yep.
stopping the dominance of Dave Bailey.
Stop. Fostette's always been super fast as well. He's won at all the tracks around, I believe. He doesn't race every year, but when he does, he's always fast. He always will put in the full season, but then some seasons you won't see him. But it's good to see him back. If I'm not sure if he raced last year or not, but he was definitely fast on Saturday and picked up the win and broke Brewster Baker's streak.
Yeah, he did. He had an impressive run. He's another driver that's had speed in the last calendar year or
And like
so.
even the week before, he was fast and
Yeah,
broke, right?
exactly. Even dating back to last
Yeah.
year. I remember there was something about the
hmm
2021 season where his name really started to stick out to me, and I took notice. And
Yeah, he's always
another car
fast.
that's taking making me take notice in the street stocks. Devin Balker,
Yeah.
that 3B
hmm
car is dialed in to start the year.
Yeah, he's. I think he came up here just because Ostaricans been having to push back, which is unfortunate. So he's come out and run Maryville, and yeah, top five last week. I know him and his dad Brad would have been super happy with that. So yeah, I noticed that. I didn't quite catch the Hoosier Stock feature this week. I'll admit, but when I looked up to see the top five, the first name that popped out with me, other than Fawcett winning, was Devin Bacher in the fourth spot.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Bailey, obviously another big drive from 15th to third. That's not really too much of a surprise with his speed, but I looked up and saw that Bacher started 13th on the grid and then drove up to fourth. Like, it's impressive to start to see the level of competition. I know that this class has been dominated by the likes of Bailey and even Rob Murray in the last few
Hmm.
years, but there's definitely a lot more parity than you would think in the Hoosier
Yeah.
Stock division right now.
I know Fawcett challenged up to the last night a couple of years ago for a championship. I'm not sure if he won it or not, but I know he's always super quick when he does run. And like I said, it wasn't really a big surprise to me to see him pick up the win on Saturday.
Another driver who was not surprising anybody by his win was Brent Bigelow in the Rona Deutsch Modified Lights. He brought it home first after starting ninth. Um, it wasn't like last week. Last week he really had to fight for that one between I think it was Winger, Slider,
A bunch of them,
Josh
yep.
Slider, Bigelow, and May that were all up there
Yep.
mixing it up, and it really was any of those four's race to win. This week though, we saw a couple new names in the top five that we haven't maybe seen throughout the year. Rob Meisner brought it home second.
Hmm.
Sean Iftati with a great run in third.
Hmm.
Josh Slider brought it home fourth, and then Chris Watson in Niagara Falls ends up fifth. So that's again, another class that's got a lot of parity to start the year. I know Begelow's won back to back. It probably could have been three in a row if he wasn't caught up with that lap car a few
Yep.
weeks back. But
Yeah.
it's good to see how balanced things are, at least to start the year.
Yep. Brent's definitely showing a lot of speed in the 16, and he's definitely been the class of the field. But yeah, a lot more parity in behind him as the top five is pretty much different the last 2 weeks, whereas now like the extra slider cars with Meisner. And if Toddy moving into the top five this time, I know Josh Slider helps him out as well, as he was in the top five both weeks in his Savage car. I know they got a lot of more of his Savage chassis out there in the Josh Slider in the mod lights as well, but I'm not sure if Brent's on one or not. That he'll have to tell me. But yeah, so it's cool to see the mod lights different looking top five this week, other than Slider and Bigelow.
Yeah, we might have to get Brent on here pretty soon and talk about him. And he keeps telling me, or mentioning that the Sportsman obviously is not out yet this year, but it sounds like they might be getting close on maybe running a Sportsman. I haven't heard the full story on that, but hopefully we'll see him pulling double duty at Maryville soon. Another driver to, uh, I don't even know how to start to define this. Tyler LaFontaine has had a great start to the year in the four cylinders. I don't know how you get much better than that. The guy he's on a tear. Four wins in a row to start the year at Maryville.
Yeah, he's already to the point. It's only late mid-May, and it's going to be hard to ask him new questions in Victory Lane. You're already wearing them all out. As a fellow announcer, I know that feeling. It's hard to come up with questions for those guys sometimes that you're talking to them every single week over and over. But it's definitely awesome for him, and I'm sure he's got no plans of slowing down anytime soon and just putting a little money in his back pocket.
And speaking of questions, I got a question for you regarding the four cylinders. I need you to pick a name,
Hmm.
not Tyler LaFontaine. Who is going to break that streak that Tyler's on right now? Obviously, we want to see our pals win, and Tyler's a great guy. He's always treated me good, so obviously, I hope he keeps
Hmm.
winning. But if somebody's going to beat him, do you have a name that sticks out? Because I think I've got one.
Oh, there's a bunch. All the guys that usually win in that class, like Rothwell Beasy, so we're going to stay away from him. But like for me, like a Worstro looked fast a couple weeks ago, and or like a Jay
Mm-hmm.
Moulton's always quick. Any one of those guys, if they catch a good starting spot, or like it's not even your starting spot. Sometimes it's like the way the cars line up, and you can get away sometimes, and the other guys have to work a little harder from the back. It's just so many things add up to having a good run, and like I say, Moulton, Worstro, and company could definitely pick one off coming up.
So the name that I'm circling, and I again I was back
Hmm.
watching. I actually rewatched the May 7th G-Force Light broadcast that we had from a couple weeks ago, and this guy has had a really noticeable start to 2022. Clinton Barrick.
Hmm.
I think Clinton Barrick and that 09, that red, whatever Pontiac Chevy, whatever it is, that car. I think it's going to find its way up into the victory lane. Clinton's now driving a TMR team car, so pretty sure that makes him teammates with not just Kyle Rothwell, but Tyler LaFontaine as well, if I understand correctly. So I'm not. I've never actually asked how that TMR racing dynamic works, but
Yeah, I noticed the logo on the car.
right.
I saw him pulling in on Saturday. Noticed the TMR on the car, so I'm sure those guys are helping him out, and those guys know how to make a car go as fast. So
That's why I'm saying I think Clinton might be the guy.
I know, but yeah, they got
I think he
yeah,
might just be it.
for sure he could be in victory lane as well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago he almost did it already.
So Clinton's the guy I'm watching, but just going through the top five. You mentioned uh, like sometimes it's not about where you start, and sometimes it
Who
is.
starts around you?
This this top five is a mishmash. Lafontaine starts sixth. He moves up to win it. Trevor DeBoer starts second, finishes second. John Lubeck started 13th
I forgot about him.
and
He's
drove up
quick.
10 spots to third. Austin
Hmm.
Rostro drove up from ninth to fourth. And then Brian Obey held on to a top five spot. He started fourth, ended up fifth. But yeah, this class is pretty balanced. Like I'm looking down the line and right up to maybe the 12th or 13th place guy are all guys that I've seen run up at the front already this year at some point or another. So it has been a parity filled start to the racing season, I think.
Totally agree with you. Like I said last week, every class at Merrittville is stacked all the way down, top to bottom. Don't matter if you're in a mini stock or a modified. Every class all the way down, you got to be on the wheel. And if you make one mistake, there's going to be a bunch of veterans blowing by you. And if it was easy, everybody would do it, and everybody definitely doesn't do it. So that's why it's tough sledding in motorsports. And every class doesn't matter what you run, even a go kart on Tuesdays. Better have your stuff together, or you're going to be getting passed.
Yeah, and then as we're recording this right now, Super Dirt Car Series is live at Can-Am Speedway. So we won't be able to give you the results of the race, but our boys, Matt Williamson, he's up to third. Stewie Friesen is running fourth as we speak. And I'm not sure if Cody, or excuse me, I'm not sure if Gary Lindbergh's racing or not.
I didn't see Gary's name
No, I didn't see it
on the
either.
list. I did look earlier for that.
So looks like we'll be tracking Friesen and Williamson. Matt Shepard's leading after 20 laps. That's the latest update that I've got going right now. So we'll talk about that maybe next week.
From Ransomville Friday, Mike Bowman had another good run. Finished second this week. Week before was fifth from 11th, and this week he went eighth to second. So good run for him. Matt had trouble at Friday Ransomville. Susie picked up the win, like we said earlier, but Mike Bowman was second from eighth, so he definitely climbed through the field and had another good run.
Yeah, good to see that for Mike. And yeah, it sounds like we're getting close to some more racetracks. Obviously, Ransomville's open stateside, but in our own backyard, it sounds like we're getting close on Humberstone, and it sounds like we're getting close on Oshweekend. I know Mother Nature's wreaking havoc. Um, Terry Vince is
Yep.
I personally have been really impressed with what Terry's been able to do with Humberstone, and
Hmm.
I'm really looking forward to getting back to that facility. And I know every time I drive by it from the outside, there's fresh coat of paint on it. Looks like was it the guardrail that they've been working on down in turn one as of late?
I believe both corners. Yeah, that's the reason why Terry had to push the opening week back is to fix the guardrail in turn one and two. But like you say, yeah, definitely had lots of fun racing there since Terry's picked up, and I'm the announcer there every Sunday. And I think you're going to be joining me this year. Hope right?
Yeah, that sounds like
That's the
that
plan so
sounds like
far,
the
right?
plan. As
Yeah, it's going to be
yeah, as
both of
far
us.
as I've heard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
I'm
too.
excited
Me
because
too.
the only times I've really done Humberstone, I've kind of been flying solo. So it'll be good to
Yeah,
have a partner at that
I agree.
racetrack, and uh, it's a unique booth. I think
Yeah,
I've never been in the Oshawika booth, so I can't speak to that one. But between Merrittville and Humberstone, I'm not sure which booth I like better because you feel so much higher in the Humberstone booth. So it's a different kind of vantage compared to Merrittville.
yeah. Humberstone's more like you're giving a speech
Yeah,
at a banquet or something with that platform in
yeah,
front of you.
right.
But
All those
yeah, but you
seats.
can see really well at both. It's yeah, Maryville, you're just kind of sitting down. It's kind of the same thing. It's just Humberstone, you stand at that thing a little more.
Yeah,
But yeah, Terry's done a good job, and he put that new guardrail down because they did have a problem with the wheel getting under. People are saying wheels could get under. I was thinking maybe I don't think a wheel can under there, but then it happened. So I'm like, yeah, because like the first night I finished third there when they opened up,
hmm
and I was running my left front because it was down on the bottom, so I was running my left front wheel all the way across. It didn't get a flat or nothing. So I didn't think it was all that bad, but some of the people did, and Terry's fixed it now, and so if that was your complaint about not running Humberstone, come on down this year because Terry fixed it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back there. And that's going to lead into some questions that we got over on Instagram. I fired it out earlier today. If you want to find us, you can search Southern Ontario Dirt Show or our handles on social media at SODS underscore pod. That is on Twitter and Instagram. And then Facebook, just find us Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast if you're trying to search it in the search bar. So we got a couple questions. So I figured we'd jump into these before we get to Cody. How well, this comes from at the underscore beef underscore. And the question is, how well do you think iRacing has replicated racing on asphalt slash dirt compared to in real life?
Okay, so I know who that is. That's Corby Daniels, and I was chatting with him about iRacing. That's the reason I missed half the features Merrittville on Saturday because Corby runs the BRP League along with a couple other guys. I know Tyler Pachelski and Travis Miller are into it big time. But yeah, I'm joining their league, and I think it's done a really good job. Like, it doesn't have the butt feel, but a lot of people say that. But if you do get your steering wheel settings right, and if you have like a higher grade wheel, that like you can almost feel that butt feel a little bit through the steering wheel. Like, I kind of suck in the modified, but I'm a little bit better in the sprint car. That's why I want to join their league, just to get more seat time in the modified and play with my friends instead of just the strangers on the internet and stuff. But yeah, I think it's done like for a simulation or slash game, it's done a pretty decent job. Like, the only thing I don't really like, sometimes the damage model's a little off, so you can kind of crash and keep going, which kind of leads to some people throwing dive bombs that they wouldn't throw in real life because you got to wreck it. That's other than that, like, if you're running with a good group of guys, it can be really, really realistic. And the pavement side too, like the pavements, everyone like some people like YouTubers I see will uh, say the dirt's broken or whatever, but I don't. I disagree. Well, I disagree a little bit, but like the asphalt's been around for 12 years more on the iRacing, so they've had a lot more time to tweak it. So I say to give the dirt side a bit of a break, and I think it's pretty good for the most part. Like, it can't be perfect. Like I have lots of fun on there. Like I say, when you get good guys, and it's definitely it's the dang closest you're going to get to real life. That's Let's just say that.
Yeah, one day when I have a little bit more free time and a little bit more space around the apartment, getting an iRacing rig
Yeah,
is
it's good for the winter.
it's
Winter's the best.
it's on my bucket list. I've always kind of wanted to, as somebody who grew up wanting to race and then jumped in a go kart and did not have the immediate success that
Yeah,
I felt was necessary to keep going with it. I think
it's
iRacing might be the platform for me one day.
yeah, the wheel is key in my opinion. You definitely gotta have a wheel. I tried it with controller, but you gotta have the wheel. Even if it's like a cheaper TMX, uh, whatever I got, Thrustmaster TMX or like a G29. They're the cheaper models, not direct drive, but there's still good settings videos on YouTube you can look up to get your stuff dialed in a bit better and get a better feel. Because the feel of the car is all through the wheel. That's just the main thing. But like I say, to get to real life, it's the next best thing you're gonna get.
Yep. And this other question here coming from Andy Bobandy88 on Instagram. Uh, what are your favorite tracks in Ontario to go to just as a fan, dirt or paved?
So as a fan, I love going to a mall. That's so hard to pick.
I know,
But like
right?
for me, my favorite show to go to as a fan before I raced in it myself, or even after I was couldn't race in it anymore. But anyway, I've been to the Outlaw show at Oswego a lot of times. That was always been my favorite. And like the Big Block show at Merrittville, always whenever the guys come in. And I can't pick a favorite dirt track honestly because I just love them all so much, and I don't want to make anybody mad around here. But like but yeah, and on the pavement side, I can pick a favorite, and my favorite track to watch at is Sunset, no doubt about it, because a lot of times it can get because it's got a little bit more banking now since they redid it, and they can race too wide pretty much the whole race. A lot of the times, I've noticed in the late models, some tracks can get a lot of single file. Peterborough's good too for the banking, and good racing as well, but some tracks can be a little single file and rammy, but Sunset for the most part you can race side by side, and some of the best races I've seen lately on pavement have definitely been at Sunset.
Yeah, I echo your sentiments about Sunset in particular. It's all fresh in our memories. The
Hmm.
NASCAR Pinty Series just ran their race. Maybe some people tuned in either.
Yes, I wasn't even thinking about that.
I know. I've been thinking about it because I know your feelings on the Pinty series. So we're not going to get too far into it, especially because this is a
Hmm.
dirt show.
No.
We'll worry about that when they take on Osh Weekend later in the year. But
Yes.
obviously that was a great finish. If you haven't seen it, the NASCAR Pinty's socials have a great last 2 lap shootout for you to watch up on their social feeds. But also, I in terms of pavement tracks, this is an easy pick for me because uh, I like um, I'm a big street course person, and I absolutely
Hmm.
love the Toronto Indy Street Course. I don't know if that counts. I don't know if that works because it is just a temporary street
It
course,
totally counts.
but like I think it was I don't know how many years ago it was that we saw that modified race at Trois Rivières. But I
Hmm.
kind of want to see
That
it,
was last year.
right? Okay, so that was last year, right? So I kind of want to see a modified race on the streets of Toronto. I think that'd be kind of fun. I've sat on the
Yep.
lakeshore for an IndyCar race. It's super picturesque. I think it's an awesome thing that's right in the heart of Ontario. And I have a big soft spot for Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as well. I love that racetrack. I love road courses. Um, and then again, at dirt, I don't even know if that's fair for me to judge because I think I've only been to 2 or 3 tracks here. So I feel like until I see a few
Yeah, and
more,
usually,
I,
yeah,
I feel like then I can maybe pick a favorite, but even then, it'd be so hard for me to pick against Maryville. It's where I got my start with broadcasting, and um, Don and Lorraine have really treated me like family, treated my girlfriend like family. So they run a great program. But uh, I the way where we're at right now for dirt racing in Ontario and the ownership that we have and the facilities that we have. Again, I haven't been around the sport for decades, but it feels like it's the best it's ever been.
yeah, definitely. And for dirt tracks, if I was going to pick one like outside of the local three, Brighton's definitely my favorite. I definitely get around there the best, and Mark Rinaldi and Ange up there put on a great show for everybody. And they have a little bit different kind of car style that they run the late models and the Canadian modifieds as to where we're used to sportsmen and 358s up here. But definitely love getting to Brighton whenever I can too.
Awesome. Yeah. So if I think we'll probably try to open that mailbox a little bit more often. We also have our email line. If there's ever a question that you want to drop for the podcast, it's Southern Ontario Dirt Show at gmail.com. You can fire us an email there. I got to admit, I've been a bad host. I haven't really been keeping on top of our emails. So I apologize if there's a question sitting in there. But we'll get to that mailbag one day later in the week. And we're also going to get to our interview right now with Dirt Car Sportsman driver Cody McPherson. All right, well, everybody, it is time now to be joined by our guest of the week on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Travis and I are joined by Cody McPherson, driver of the 7 Dirt Car Sportsman. And welcome to the show, Cody. It's been a good start to the year for you in the 7 and a new looking ride with the purple. I like it.
Yeah, it's had a good start, and yeah, the purple something different. Try to think of something that not many guys have, and just went with it.
Yeah, it definitely works. The gold number really makes it. That's for sure. Cody, talk about your first few weeks there. You got the 2 weeks. The first night didn't go the best, and then you got 2 wins right in a row in the 2 points nights. And then last week, you were in the top five, but you weren't in the top two. But just tell us about all your weeks so far.
Yeah, we started the year off with a different package than last year, and we ran third, but I knew the car wasn't what I wanted it to be. And then the following week, we started the heat, and still, say we won the heat, but it still didn't feel right. So we switched back to last year or what we had and ended up winning that feature and then carried it on to the next week, won that. And last week was just kind of a tough go running last all night with handicapping, starting at the back. I had a good car, just nowhere to go. I tried to go to the top, someone was there. Tried to go to the bottom, someone was there. It was just it was tough passing.
Do you have to set the car up differently based on that aspect of whether you're handicapping starting towards the back? Does it change what you're looking for out of the car when you know you have more cars to pass?
Uh, for me, no. I'm the most basic racer out there, and that's what I try to change. At the beginning of this year, I tried to go trying different things and try to get better. I ran the same 4 shocks and coils all last year, every race, every track I went to, and I've been doing it for the last 2 3 weeks now too. I know what works, and if the track changes, I just change my driving style.
It's funny you say that because a lot of your friends have told me the similar thing. You always do the same thing no matter what. And I think that's pretty cool that you said that. You're definitely from a big family at Merrittville with between the McPhersons and the Willards. Just talk about like your Aunt Tammy. I know I think you told me you were with her tonight, and your Uncle Bill and your dad and your brother. Just talk about how awesome it is to be in such a big family that definitely kicks ass at the local tracks around here.
Yeah, you know, I was just with Aunt Tam. We had dinner. She's my main sponsor this year. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to do this. Um, and yeah, so it started with my great grandpa. He was there ever since Maryville opened, and he raced, and he was more of a car owner too. We had Stan Friesen, Terry Edwards, guys like that raced for him. And then my grandpa he raced a little bit, not much. He was more of a car owner. And then yeah, my dad raced, my Aunt Tam raced, my Uncle Bill raced, and then it was me, my brother Ty, and my cousin BJ. So yeah, it's a long family history.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, Travis. I was going to ask about what it means to represent that Willard name still at the racetrack, because there's just so much history. As someone who not necessarily was new to it, but in terms of being really obsessed with the sport in the last 4 years of hanging around Merrittville, the Willard name is everywhere, and there's a lot of family legacy there. So that's really something cool. But talk to me a bit about writing your own legacy, because in my memory, and especially last year, you've become one of the most dominant names in dirt car sportsmen, at least around Maryville. You really have that place figured out and dialed in. So what is it about the sportsman that you have such a good handle on right now?
You know what? Like I said earlier, it's just I keep it simple. I know what works for me. Um, I don't try to overthink think it. I think that's a lot of people's problem right now. They see someone else running something or something new, and they think they got to have it. And like I said, I was a victim to it at the beginning of this year, and took one race for me to realize, I know what works, and I know what works for me, and just keep it keep it simple. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yep. Cody, you were definitely a staple at the mile every year. You always had lots of good runs. It's sad it's not around anymore. I just got to get a couple mile stories out of you. You're always up front there, and I know you loved racing there.
Yeah, I miss that place. That was
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I don't even know how to explain that place. You just put the pedal to the metal, and your head starts moving with the wind, and it's like nothing you ever seen or done before. It's you kind of have a little bit of a draft there, and um, it's definitely was a special place. I wish we could have won there. I wish we could have raced more there. But
What
yeah,
was
we
your
were
best
always
run there?
my best run there. I finished second or third. And
Yeah,
then
that's
the
what I
one
thought.
week
Yeah.
we were running second. My last year there, we were running second. We were right there for the lead, and ended up getting wrecked with some lap cars going into turn three. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something, going full speed down the back straightaway, going into three and wrecking into the wall. That was a hit I'll always remember.
Yeah, that's a problem with wrecks back at the Moody Mile. Definitely weren't small when they happened. Are you planning on running Super Dirt Week this year now that's moved to Oswego? And have you run Oswego before?
Yeah, we ran Oswego. I went the first year. Um, we were I think we got the redraw, or we were supposed to start top 10. And I was pitting for Matty Williamson in the big block race before ours, and I watched them basically start. I think what they start 40 cars there. I watched seven finish, and I watched every car sitting in the infield just destroyed. So I ended up just loading my car up and going home. The following week, or the following year, sorry, we went back. We ran pretty good. We had to go through the Consi, didn't time trial very good. Drove through the field. I can't remember where we ended up, but yeah, so I haven't been there in probably about. I went the first 2 years, haven't been back since. So that's the plan, is to go back to Dirt Week. That's the whole reason I got back into it in my own car, is trying to kind of make a name for myself down there now that I can travel a little bit more. So that is the plan right now, but we'll see with the cost of everything and tires. We'll see what happens.
And for somebody who isn't really as familiar with the technical side of the sport, maybe for the casual fans in the stands that see these sportsman cars and then see the 358 modifieds later on, how would you explain the difference between the two cars as quickly as you possibly could, and what makes one more challenging versus the other? What are the unique challenges of each series?
I think the biggest difference is motor. It's power wise. The 358s, they got a lot more power, um, but they're also a lot more money to buy a motor. And I think I think a lot of the problems too, like you got a
Hmm.
358, you got that power to get out of a jam. Like if you get tight, you can throttle up. It'll get you through the corner where you don't have that with the crate. Um, if you get it too cranked in there, it you actually bog the motor down. So you got to kind of keep it straight. So a little bit different driving style, but yeah, it's definitely the power. The 358's got a lot more.
Yep. So yeah, you drove the 358 a couple times last year for the Podwinskis. So how'd that go? And just like you said, any more differences in driving style other than the power? Like, do you gotta just like you probably had to tighten up a little bit more than your sportsman, maybe?
Yeah, both times I drove those cars, we had no brakes, so it was kind of hard. Yeah, it was hard to kind of feel. But a year before that, or 2 years before that, I drove my brother's 358, and yeah, it's just basically throttle control, trail braking, getting used to keeping the car underneath you. Um, it takes a little bit more of that, and that's about it.
I was just gonna ask if you have any aspirations in terms of going forward, pursuing maybe full time 358 driving down the road, or do you like where you're at in the sportsman and you're just gonna keep ride the wave while you're on it?
I would love to move up. Thought about it, but I'll be honest, I can't afford it. I do this on my own with the help of all my sponsors, but these motors that these guys are running right now, other than the Wagners, they're still 20 grand, but the other ones are 40 grand, and it's just I I can't do it. I can't afford it as much as I want to. Um, I just it's not feasible for me right now.
Yep. It's tough sledding. You said you were going to try to make a name for yourself down in the States. In my opinion, you've already made a name for yourself down there. Like you've already won the Super Dirt Car Series Sportsman Championship, so I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good making a name for yourself down there. So why don't you talk about winning that championship?
Yeah, for what I said about that, it's like I went and a couple years ago I raced Fairways car. I actually got out of the sport for all of about
Hmm.
all of about 3 months, but I went in Fairways car. We ended up winning I think 5 or 6 races out of 9, and I was pumped. But then we didn't do any traveling, and I went and watched the guys that we had just beat go win big races down there, and even when I was racing on my own or for my parents back then, my dad's a truck driver, so he can't take time off. Like he won't get paid. I was a casual at the city. I couldn't get time off, so we couldn't travel to the big show. So I went and got my own car last year and made a deal and figured COVID was going to be over by that summer, and that I'd be able to travel and show that I can win all these races or at least compete in these races. Not saying I'm going to win them, but compete, make a name for myself. And unfortunately, COVID took that away from us. So um, this year, that's the plan: is do dirt week and make sure they know we're
Like
there.
try to
And
win the championship again for the Sportsman Tour?
that is a
That'd be
plan
good.
right
Yes.
now. We're going to do the dirt tour. The schedule is pretty nice with the way they break it down. That the 4 of the races are at two are at Manorville, 2 are at Humberstone, the other are Schwiegen. So we were going to those anyways.
Hmm.
So if those go good, we have that big week, dirt week,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, that is.
so yeah, as long as everything goes good, that's the plan. But it's
That is a
just
nice little package deal to make it almost easier to do it, right?
yeah, especially with the price of diesel and that right now, and the travel to these races,
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's pretty handy that the 5 races are right here, and then all in one week basically.
So I always have a question that I ask pretty much everybody, every driver we have on the show here. Cody, what is one race car and one racetrack you get for the rest of your life? What would those picks be if you could only race one car, one racetrack for the rest of your life?
I think I just the sportsman because I know I'm pretty good at it, and the track. Oh, uh, I'm heading to Lernerville this Friday with my brother Ty to help pit. I've always wanted to race there, but if I had to pick one track to race at, it'd be Oshwegan. That place is just phenomenal. The facility, the track, everything Glenn does there, it's state of the art. It's just incredible. It's literally
I would
incredible.
say when it's prepped right, it's the funnest track on the earth.
Yeah, and
Like Maryville's fun and Humberstone's fun too, but like us,
yeah,
like
yeah,
you can just wide open the place. It's awesome.
yeah. It slicks off, and it gets a little technical, but it just the facilities alone at that place, it's incredible.
All right, Cody. We appreciate you coming on and joining the show, and we wish you good luck. And hopefully, I'm talking to you again on Saturday night in Victory Lane.
Yeah, thanks, guys. enjoy you guys having me, and it's pretty cool what you guys got going on, bringing eyes and ears more to the sport in the local area, and yeah, I think it's just going to be a cool deal you guys got going on. Hopefully, it keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Awesome, man.
We
Thanks so
appreciate
much.
it. Thanks for giving us your time.
All right, guys, take it
See you,
easy.
Cody.
Yeah, cheers. Awesome interview with Cody McPherson. Great to have him on the show. And actually, before we caught up with this with Cody for this interview, Travis, you talked to him as well as multiple people throughout the Merrittville Garage ahead of the Brian Stevens Memorial, and got some stories. Correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to catch up and get a couple Brian Stevens stories. Brian was a staple at Merrittville, and it's awesome they put a race on for him every year. He was definitely a hard-nosed racer up on the wheel going to the front, and a local icon as well, because he was the first guy to get a top 5 at Syracuse that you'll hear. And so we interviewed Ray Samuel, who was one of Brian's main crew guys all through his career. He's one of the guys who's got the best Brian Stevens stories around. So it was cool to catch up with Ray and hear his thoughts on that. He's the one who taught me that he was the first Canadian in the top 5, as you'll hear. And then we caught up with Fast Freddie Carlton, who gave a cool little story about Brian and his dad teaching something, and Pete Bicknell. We had to get him because of his rivalry with Brian and all the championships they battled for. So they'll be coming up here along with Cody's in a few seconds here.
Yeah, let's start with that now. Here's Cody McPherson live trackside talking about the Brian Stevens Memorial.
All right, Southern Ontario Dirt Show here at Merrittville Speedway for the Brian Stevens Memorial. We're here with Cody McPherson. Cody, he knew Brian pretty good, and he's got a couple stories to share about Brian here.
Yeah, Brian Stevens was the first one to tell me the best way to points race is to win. He told me that when I was about 15, going for my first street stock championship, and I've been following that those same words to this day.
It's great advice. And you also said you had a story about him and Mikey Grant, who we talked about last week, something about going to Syracuse last minute or something?
Yeah, we were racing the mile, and I think it was the Friday or the Saturday, and all of a sudden you see two guys walking up, and it was Brian and Mikey, and no idea how they got there, but it was good to see them both. And actually, Brett Hearn ended up winning that year, so I don't know if he won the 358 race, but it was good to see Brian get a picture with his daughter and that in Victory Lane.
That's awesome too, yeah.
And so it was pretty cool to see.
All right, good luck tonight, Cody. Here we are, Southern Ontario Dirt Show at Merrittville Speedway, Brian Stevens Memorial, talking with Cody McPherson, and thank you.
All right, guys.
All right, Travis Cunningham here for the Southern Ontario Dirt Show with Fast Fred Carlton here at Brian Stevens Memorial at Merrittville Speedway. We're just looking for quick little stories about Brian. Freddie's got a good one here, but a little bit of advice he's got when he was first starting out in mod.
Yeah, I think I'm in my second or third year of modified, and I knew Brian and Ray for quite a while already because I watched the fierce battles between Pete and Brian, which were known all over the Ontario here. But I used to get out there and I go around Rancho Speedway one night, and my bean wheel is 4 feet in the air. I come in after hot laps. I said, Ray, my car's just not hooked up right. I said, this is out of control. He said, don't worry, son. He said, that'll come down by the end of the night. So it was just a little bit of advice from Ray, and actually further on later in the years when we got to know the guys pretty good, Ray lost his motor one time. Me and my brother in the grandstands, because we heard our car, we told them we'll loan your motors. We took our motor out, loaned it to Brian and Ray, went down during the week, put the engine in. Ray came up here the next week along with it. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I knew Freddie would have a couple of good Brian stories, and thanks, Fred. Good luck tonight, and I hope they'll see you afterwards.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, Southern Ontario Dirt Show here with Pete Bicknell. Pete and Brian at the Brian Stevens Memorial with Pete Bicknell. And Pete, you definitely raced a lot in your career with Brian. Do you have maybe a little story about him or two, just to tell us about it?
Yeah, we were great rivalries there for a long time. Back in the late '70s, early '80s. Brian and I went tooth to tooth so many times for championships. There was a couple I lost out on, and he grabbed. So he was a great competitor, great guy. And in his finals years, he was actually working for us at the shop. So he was a great asset to the company. It was a sad day when we lost him, that's for sure. But yeah, he was always a good competitor. We had a lot of rivalries where, I remember a few nights that he'd wreck me and we'd come back out the next week and we'd wreck him type of thing. And so it went back and forth a few times. And there were some good battles and some bad wrecks between the both of us, but we're always friends, And his dad, Ray, we were all good friends. We'd go races together. We'd help each other at the track and everything. But when we got on the track, we were our own drivers and we were our own racers. What happened on the track stayed on that track. So that kind of was nice. And they'd come to the shop and we'd help them out as much as we could. And get them fixed up for the next race. Kind of funny how that works sometimes. You know, you have a problem with a guy on the track, and then you help him out fixing it up. So we had a lot of those days, but it was a sad day when we lost him, that's for sure.
That's definitely for sure. All right, Pete, thanks a lot. We definitely knew you'd have some awesome stories about him.
Yeah.
This is the Southern Ontario Dirt Show here with Pete Bicknell at the Brian Stevens Memorial. All right, we're here for the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. We're here with Ray Samuel. Ray, tonight's the Brian Stevens Memorial. You were one of Brian's best crew guys going on his whole career. We were just wondering if you could give us a couple of quick stories on Brian here to start the night, and just maybe start with what you would say was his best run ever. You said it wasn't a win, so tell the story about that.
Yeah, he's the first Canadian to finish top 5 at Syracuse, which was a big deal back then. Before Stewie won it 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. He won the All-Canadian quite often. Was a lot of big races. He never got the series race here, but he always ran decent. Got a couple championships here. Got a couple championships at Humberstone. But he traveled a lot too, right?
That's
so
the
it was
main
like
thing, yeah.
He always wanted to do something on the other stage, you know.
Yeah, this is like when I first started, I started racing here in 2004, and like I knew Brian more as the local guy, but then as I started to learn how he's there at Syracuse all the time, and that's cool. I didn't know that he was the first top 5. That's a real cool story.
Yeah, his dad would hire all the hot shoe drivers back in the day.
Yeah.
Stan Friesen, Mike Granton, Lloyd Holt. So he won a lot of championships before Brian started racing, and then that's why Brian always wanted to travel, because Brian grew up seeing, you know, guys like Stan wheel at Wheatsport and win a championship at Wheatsport. So Brian really enjoyed traveling, right? Hitting those spots that other Canadians weren't able to do, right?
I think that's one of the coolest parts about him, no doubt about it. Other than another one of my first dirt races I watched here, it was a double feature night, and he swept both the deals. I remember one of the only people I knew back then was Pete. Yeah. And I remember when I saw him, I instantly knew who he was and never forgot after that. So that's Travis Cunningham here at the Southern Ontario Dirt Show at the Brian Stevens Memorial, talking with Ray Samuel.
And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for future episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.